is a place where you find tutorials on Android, Kotlin, and Firebase. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to talk about Kotlin. Kotlin is a statically typed general-purpose programming language which is fully interoperable with Java. If you have no prior experience of Kotlin, then it really doesn't matter because this video is basically for you. Those who have no prior experience or those who have just got started with Kotlin, this is for them. And then we'll eventually move on to the advanced topics so that you will be very confident while using Kotlin for making applications. Let's start with the syntax first. The syntax followed in Kotlin is similar to Scala. So if you already have familiarity with Scala language, then you might already know about the syntax which is followed here. Let me start with the variables first. So for variables, we have two options in Kotlin. One is with val and another one is with var. And we'll see both of them today, when to use val and when to use var. Let me start with the val first. Say that I have a variable called as name and I want this variable to be of type string. Then I will do something like this. So while declaring this variable, what you have to do is that you have to give a name, and after that you define the data type for it. Val or var is a keyword. Through this you define that whatever you have given here after var or val is nothing but a variable. Now when to use val and when to use var. Say that I want to initialize this only once. Then I can use val. I could do something like this, or I can just take away this part and initialize it right here itself. So by this way you can initialize value to your object, but this is only true if you want to assign it only once. If you want to assign it multiple times, then you should use var. Like for example, if I try to assign it once again, it will throw an error that this is not permitted. It's all because of val. So I should switch it to var. Another important concept is in Kotlin, all the variables are non-nullable by default, which means that if I try to assign a null to this string object, it will not accept. And that is because by default it doesn't accept it. So you have to explicitly mention it that this variable may accept null value. And for that you have to do using a question mark operator. Use var or val, the name of the variable, colon, data type, and then question mark. This question mark says that this variable may contain null values. But because Kotlin is a null safe language, so it offers null safety using question mark dot operator. So if you want to do any sort of operation like getting the length of the string, you have to do it using the question mark dot operator. You cannot do it like name dot length. And the reason is very straightforward. Say the name is null and null dot length will throw a null pointer exception. And because Kotlin offers null safety, so this is something which should be taken care of. And that is why in Kotlin, if you want to use any variables, any object which is of nullable type, you have to use it using the question mark dot operator. Also, if you want to get some default value, say that I want this name to return some value to me, then what I could do is like if name is null, then return the default value of 0. And this is done using this operator, question mark colon, which means that as soon as it finds null, leave this part and assign this value. So by this way, if name is null, which is null here, this will give me a value of 0. Okay, so now let's talk about the function. So for function, we have a keyword called as fun. By this way, it understands that this is a function. Say that I have a function called as get username. So whatever name you give after fun, that will be the name of a function. And if you want to define the return type for this function, like for example the current one is unit, it returns nothing. But say if you want to return from here say string value, then you should specify the return value, and you specify it here. So fun is a keyword. After fun is a name of the function, and after that you define the return type for this function. Now remember, because it is non-nullable type, so here this function will not return null. If you want to return null, then just like a variable way, you have to specify a question mark here. By this way you say that if this function may return string or a null value. Say let me just return a string value. Now this function return a string. But if you just have a single return method, then you can avoid writing this return type here, the braces, and can have just an equal to operator there, and that's it. By this way it will infer the return type from the value specified. So this function returns string, and this is inferred through this value because of its string type. If I say a number, then it will infer this as a number type. Now let me talk about the parameters. So you can have any number of parameters here. Say that I have a parameter called as name, then age. So I can have any number of parameters, and not just this, while calling this, I even have a privilege to give values for certain parameters and avoid giving for others. For that, I should use a feature called as default argument. What I can do is, like, while giving these parameters, I can give, say, a value for both of them. Now this will act as the default value for name and age. So if I call, say, something like as get username, then if I try to print name and age, it will print ABC and 0. Because while calling this function, I haven't specified these two parameters. Another good thing here with function is that, say, instead of giving values for all the parameters, you can give values only for the certain parameters by using a feature called as named argument. For example, for this get username, rather than passing name and age, I just want to pass the age. So I can do this using the named argument, which is age. Not just this, I can also change the sequence. All these things is possible through named argument. Okay, so that was about the default argument, named argument, and the argument in the function. Now let me talk about the string templates. So in case of Kotlin, what you can do is, like, say you have a string called as hello, my name is, and now you want to give some values. Say I have a variable called as name, and I give my name. I want to print my name. So rather than giving like plus name, what I could do here is that I could use string templates. What it means is that I can say like dollar name. And now say if I want to print the length of it, and length of name is, I can do it using the dollar braces name dot length. So it's one of the cool way where you can define those things right in the string. Not just this, if you want to print the string as it, with whichever space you are writing these values, it will remain as it is. And you can assign this to any of the variable. Now let me just print this, and here it is. It follows the same indentation which you have given when you have specified this string inside these three quotes. Okay, now let me talk about the conditional expression. In Kotlin, if is not just a conditional branch, Rather, it's an expression. Expression can be returned. So by this way, you can return value from if else. What it means is that say that you have a value called as number and you have specified it like 5, and if it is odd you want to return it as odd, and if it is even you want to return this as even. So let me have a variable called as result, and now what I could do is like if num mod 2 is equals to 0, I want to return from here that this is an even number, else it's an odd number. So by this way you can return from the if else branch. The another approach is like, which is quite a Java way, is you can have if, you can have else, and then you can assign this result. Say like result equals to this, then result equals to that. So this is a Java way of writing these things, but here with Kotlin you can just avoid duplicating assignments and can take it right outside the if, and that's it. One thing to remember here is that because we have this approach of returning from if else, so there is no conditional operator. So that's it in this video. Hope you might have find this interesting and useful. If you haven't subscribed this channel, then please do subscribe it so that you not miss the upcoming videos.